Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the 2010 Forum with the candidates for the Mayor of Sioux Falls position. Every 4 years, citizens of Sioux Falls have the opportunity to vote for the candidates of their choice in this election. This year we have 6 candidates who are vying for the mayor's position in 2010. I'm Carol Muller, representing the League of Women Voters, and will be moderating today's forum for the next 90 minutes. Today's forum is being held at the Carnegie Town Hall, where the City of Sioux Falls City Council meets. Our forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Sioux Falls, the Sioux Falls Area Chamber of Commerce, and the City of Sioux Falls. We appreciate their partnership and their participation, and the participation of the candidates also. Our forum is live on Saturday, May 20th, and if you are watching at this time, we do have the opportunity for you to call in with questions by dialing 367-8080. That number, once again, is 367-8080, and I do believe it will be flashing across the bottom of your screen if you're watching this live on Saturday morning. Today's forum is also being rebroadcast on Channel 16 up until the time of the election, and it will also be available online at www.siouxfalls.org. We hope you will encourage your family and friends to watch and become informed voters. Voting is April 13th, and you do have until March 29th to register if you have not done so yet. So on to a little bit of housekeeping as we start our forum today. Our candidates will each have 1-minute introductions. They will, and as we present questions, they will have 1 minute to respond to those, and we will also have 1-minute closing times. So easy to remember. For 1 minute across there, our timers will be flashing up 30 seconds and the bright orange one that says stop. And if you missed that one, I will help you today also. I will help you remember that. Also, just to let you know, in front of you are the microphones, and if you aren't familiar with these, when the red button is up, the microphone is on and it is live. When it is pushed down, it's off. So if we forget, we may stop and just remind people to go ahead and make sure their buttons are up. We are looking for audience questions. For those of you that are here, we do have note cards that you can complete questions on and hold them up. One of our runners will be over to collect the questions for you, and they'll bring them together, sort them into like topics for me, so we'll have a chance to present them to the candidates today. And again, if you're watching live, you can dial 367-8080 with your questions. As we start, we do ask you to turn off your cell phones to at least silent or to turn them off so that we don't have a distraction. And if you want to have a conversation with your neighbor, we do invite you to go into one of the other rooms to have that conversation instead of distracting from the audience that is here today. So with that, we're going to go ahead and start with introductions. We are going to do 1 minute each, and we are going to be starting with Bill Peterson. The candidates today are in the order on which they are in on the ballot, if I'm correct on that, is how you're sitting. That sounds correct for you when you drew for those. We have you sitting in that order. Every candidate will have the opportunity to answer all the questions, so we'll start with opening comments with Bill. The first question will go to Vernon, the second to Pat to start, and we'll continue to round robin. And just to let you know, I always miss one person at least once during the forum because I just do, and because my charting gets a little screwed up, so please let me know if I miss something, and we will catch you up and get everything taken care of. So with that, we will go ahead and start with Bill Peterson.
Thank you, Carol, and good morning, everyone. My name is Bill Peterson. I'm a fourth-generation South Dakotan, a native of Vermilion, and a 30-year resident of Sioux Falls. I think I bring several things to this race for mayor. First of all, I bring very broad and in-depth experience at the national, state, and local level, both in business and in government. I bring a real record of accomplishment, one that you can look up and check out for yourself. I also bring, because of those experiences, a very calm and steady hand in dealing with people, dealing with events, dealing with issues. I believe I have a real vision for this community and a real plan for getting there. And finally, I have a thick skin and a good sense of humor, because when you've been told, as often as I've been told, that you look just like Al Franken, you need both. And those are two good qualities to have in a mayor as well. So I look forward to your questions and to our forum today. Thank you.
Thank you. Vernon Brown.
Thank you. I'm an Arlington, South Dakota native, a farm boy from that area. I've been in Sioux Falls for about 20 years. I know that it boils down to one thing. Why am I running? The old reporter in me knows that that's what people want to know. I spent a lot of time looking internally on why I wanted to do this race, and I really found it in the eyes of my 5-year-old daughter. She tells Tammy and I, my wife, that she wants to live with us forever, and I'll remind her of that when she's a teenager. But I do want her and her generation to have the choice to live, work, and play in Sioux Falls. I grew up on a farm and in the 1980s, and there weren't a lot of opportunities in Kingsbury County at that time, and my parents told me that the farm wouldn't support my tuition at college, let alone my economic future. I want to make sure that we never have to have that kind of a conversation with our children in Sioux Falls. This race, much of it, is about jobs for this community. We've lost more than 1,200 jobs in Sioux Falls. More than 6,000 people in the greater Sioux Falls area are without work. My background in business, in communications, and experience on the City Council give me the unique way to help bring jobs to Sioux Falls.
Thank you. Pat Costello.
Good morning. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Chamber for having us here today. But I'd also like to thank the two strongest supporters I have in the audience, my wife, Shawn, and my mother, Mary Ann. I appreciate all their hard work. I'm a fourth-generation Sioux Falls resident. I grew up here and had a wonderful childhood. I had the opportunity to go down to Arizona State University, get a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting, where I received a CPA certificate, practiced as a CPA in Phoenix for a while, and moved back to Sioux Falls. I moved back to Sioux Falls because I thought Sioux Falls offered me the best opportunity in the future. And that's what my campaign is about. I want to make sure my children, your grandchildren, had the same opportunities growing up in Sioux Falls as I did, and the same opportunities to open up their own business and to be successful in their careers as I did. Because we have a wonderful community, and I want to make sure we stay that way.
Thank you. Kermit.
Yes, I'm Kermit Staggers, and first of all, I'd like to welcome all of you to the Carnegie Town Hall on this first spring day. I teach history and political science at the University of Sioux Falls, and I've been doing that for 28 years. But beyond teaching government, I also have been practicing government, too. I've served in the South Dakota State Senate for 8 years, the Sioux Falls City Council for 8 years, Air Force Intelligence for 6 years, and also I have worked with the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry in Kiev, Ukraine. All of those years of experience total 21. 21 years of experience, more than all the other candidates running for mayor. But it's not just having all that experience, it's important finding out, what the citizens want. And so during the last several years, I've gone door to door, and I've knocked on the doors of 19,000 residents to find out what their concerns are. Because this is what this city government is all about, is taking care of the concerns of the citizens of Sioux Falls. Now, in the future, if you would like to know more about my position on different issues, which are many, please go to staggersformayor.com.
Thank you. Mike.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mike Huther. When you grow up with limited financial means like I did, you learn the value of a dollar and the sweat and the hard work involved in earning it. Though those times were tough for me and for my family, they helped lay the foundation for what I've become today. My faith, my family, 25 years in business, and my love of stewardship drive me. All of you are going to get a flavor for that today, and if I have the honor to become your mayor, you'll certainly get a flavor for that in the years to come. I am motivated, I am passionate, and I am driven to make this city better. I look forward to answering the questions that all of you have today, and I think you'll get a good flavor for what I have planned for this great city.
Janak.
Thank you. Good morning. Sorry for my being late. My name is Janak Ajada, and I'm looking forward to serving you here in Sioux Falls as the mayor of this great city. Because of the ideas that I have, I didn't get them on my own, but I got them from the persons that live here in this city. So, as a person, as they say, I'm on the bottom rung of the ladder. I, too, want to bring more jobs, especially education, help for the elderly and our citizens also. Just to make it plain, I have had business experience. I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of detail. You can see me, and I'll tell you about those things. I don't have a website, and I have not raised any monies for this because I believe it's certitude to serve is better than anything else. Thank you very much.
Thank you. With that, we'll be turning into asking the questions that have been coming from our audience and also from our call-in. Just a reminder, we are looking for questions. We love questions. That's what makes today's forum successful for all of us. So please continue to write those out, hold them up. Somebody will be over to pick those questions up, and we'll sort them and get them together to be asking the candidates. As a reminder, you have 1 minute to answer questions. We'll continue to go in order, and there is no rebuttal time. Always a good reminder for everybody. So the first question has to deal with bus service, and this person writes, what will you do to expand the bus service and make it more available? Vernon, you're first.
You know, we've started to see in the last few years increased usage of the bus service, which is a good thing. We're seeing more than 10% usage grow, but the problem with the bus service is it doesn't reach all the fringes of the city. It's a very expensive service. And that is going to be the challenge in expanding it. And especially in this economy, the increased usage might be good news, but it's also bad news because it means there are more people without the means to drive themselves. We continually examine how to expand bus service. In this economy, it's going to be difficult, but we do have to find ways in which to enhance the service, and hopefully we can do that in the coming year.
Thank you. Pat.
Our bus service, as Vernon said, continues to be a challenge. Roughly, it runs on about $7 million. $2 million comes from federal grants, which really tie our hands in a large way of what we can do and what we can't do. The other comes up about $800,000 of fees or fare fees, and then $4.2 million out of our general fund. The problem is that bus service is made up of fixed route and paratransit. They each cost about the same, split the budget 50-50, but fixed route has about 90% of the ridership and paratransit has 10%. So you can see where the struggle comes in. The struggle comes in is how to balance the needs with the paratransit with the demands of the fixed route. So we will always continue to work through that. The PTAP board is currently, I think, trying to review and come up with a better system for allocating those costs. We will continue to work with them on that. But it's always going to be a struggle for the city, particularly with our difficult funding environment.
Thank you. Kermit.
Yes, when it comes to the bus service, the phone calls I receive the most on that deal with the inflexibility of the service. When you talk about the fixed route, obviously there are certain streets that the buses go down, and sometimes people are long distance away from the street where the bus is operating at. When you talk about the paratransit, there's the inflexibility when it comes to the hours. So I think one of the most important things we have to do in city government is to provide more flexibility in the bus service. Because after all, that's what people really want. They want a lot of mobility. They don't want to go around trying to catch a certain bus at a certain location. They would prefer that the bus would be coming closer to them. Now, how do you do this? Well, what we have to do is we have to be a lot more creative than we have been in the past. If you go to foreign countries, oftentimes you see a transportation system which is kind of between a regular fixed bus service and then a taxi service. But it provides a lot of mobility. You go to a person's home, pick them up, and you take them to work. That's what we should be striving for in Sioux Falls, is more flexibility in the transit system.
Thank you. Mike.
Our public transportation system is inadequate. We can do better. We must do better. If you are of working poor, if you are elderly, if you are handicapped, if you don't have a car in this town because you hit a pothole and you can't drive it anymore, you will struggle with the public transportation system that we have in this town. There was a quote that was given to me when I was attending a forum. Being poor in this town takes an incredible amount of time. Try utilizing the public transportation system in this town, and you'll realize exactly what they're talking about. We do have solutions. You can't mention them all in the 1 minute that we've been given, but it will be a priority under my administration.
Thank you. Janak.
The bus system is adequate, but just in the point of riders that don't have the opportunity to ride them at the right schedules. I've been a bus rider in this city for a few years, and that's part of the complaint. It's like the scheduling, and it takes so long for getting around the city. You can ride from here to Walmart, and it takes you in almost an hour. We can drive down to Sioux City within that period of time. And the people that actually use the bus are dependent on it. Some, like you said, are the elderly, and especially the students. You want to save gas and things in the city, make the bus system available at the peak times that the persons need to ride the bus. That's all it is. It's changing the schedule and getting around the city a lot faster, and I will get that done.
Thank you. Bill?
Thanks, Carol. Well, in any city of any size, public transportation is a critical issue, and the public transportation system in Sioux Falls is an integral part of our community, particularly as we continue to grow. I would associate myself with many of the comments that have been made. As we've traveled around, all of us as candidates, this issue continues to come up in many, many forums. It comes up really for two reasons. One, from those who are trying to use the system and find it to be very inefficient or very inconvenient for them, and also from those who look at a system where we see many of our buses traveling around half or two-thirds empty. I think some of the things that we need to remember, though, is that the federal government does tie our hands, particularly on the fixed routes, but even within that, we should look at more flexibility, maybe using smaller buses, maybe using more fuel-efficient buses, and really trying to track the traffic patterns and the needs of our citizens so that those, particularly of the lower incomes, are being more frequently served than they are right now.
Thank you. Just a reminder for people who may be getting up on a Saturday morning and enjoying a cup of coffee that if you've channel change through channel 16, you can go through and dial in with questions 367-8080 and join us this Saturday morning with your questions. The next question that we have is actually one that was submitted online, and this person says, the park system in Sioux Falls is wonderful, and the city has done a good job maintaining and growing this area for our community. When I travel with my children, I see many cities, much smaller than ours, who have community recreation centers with many more amenities than ours. This person references Sioux Center, Iowa. I would like to know your opinion on building a new community rec center in Sioux Falls, one that specifically addresses a 50-meter lap pool, a zero-depth pool, senior area with pool tables and ping pong tables, ice rink, meeting areas, etc. So on recreation and pools. And first up on that question is Pat.
I supported the rec center a number of years ago, and I supported the indoor swimming pool at Drake Springs Pool. Really, when you're looking at our park system and all of our quality of life amenities, it's a difficult balancing act. What we're going to face with Sioux Falls in the future is a struggle to be able to provide the services and the needs that the community wants and expects and has enjoyed over the last few years with the difficult environment of revenue, our future revenue streams coming in. And so, while I would like to say that by the end of my first term as mayor that we would have an indoor swimming pool or more indoor ice sheets, I certainly will work towards that goal, but it's going to be a tough environment economically for us in the future. Our facilities in those areas are woefully short of many areas across the state of South Dakota and across the region, and we need to work on that. But it's a very delicate balancing act. We have to make sure that we're first providing for what our needs are and then our wants.
Thank you. Kermit.
Well, first of all, let me mention I do support a new recreation center. However, there are a couple of conditions in regard to a new recreation center. First of all, I would prefer that it be privately funded, because we had a vote a number of years ago concerning a publicly financed recreation center, and the vote was 66 to 34. So I think that's the best way to go, is to have it privately financed. And I've also mentioned this to different groups, that's the best thing to do. To get out there, raise your own money, build your own facility, and you don't have to worry about politics or anything like that. Now, there is a second way we could also go, is to have it a public facility. But the most important thing there would be to make sure that those people who actually use a facility pay for it. Because I hear from people all the time that, well, I don't use this facility, but I'm paying for it. And they don't believe it's fair. So I think, to be fair to all the citizens of Sioux Falls, if we have a public facility, it should be paid for by those people who actually use that facility.
Thank you. Mike.
For 5 out of the 12 months of the year, there is not a better place in the country to be. When it comes to the summer months, this is a wonderful city when it comes to our parks and giving seniors and young both an opportunity to enjoy. The problem is that our weather isn't perfect all the time. We have snow, we have wind, we have rain. We have conditions where we also need to provide some venues for young and old alike. Not only to get them outside doing things, I mean, we're South Dakotans. We want our kids, we want our seniors out of the house. But we also want to do it for economic development opportunities. Our hotels in the summer are jam-packed. Drive by the hotels in the wintertime, you'll see a different story. Let's do it for health, let's do it for quality of life, let's do it for economic development as well.
Thank you. Jeanette?
Basically, we're city rich in parks. I've been all over the whole country, and I've looked at and compared our city to a lot of other cities. Right now, we don't need any more venues, parks. We're spending much more money on keeping up the parks and the bike trails and things now. And if you really look at the city, only about 10 to 8% are using those particular facilities. I'd rather see the monies go towards fixing up the infrastructure on our potholes, also on our sewage, which is antiquated, and if we don't get it fixed now, in the next 5 to 7 years, we're going to run into problems. Like I said, we are park rich. We have some of the most beautiful parks I've seen in the country.
Thank you. Bill?
Thank you. People at these forums tend to ask us the question, what has motivated you to run for mayor? And my answer is very simple. I'm running for mayor because citizens asked me to run. Shortly after the last city election, I had people literally stopping me on the street asking me to be a candidate for mayor. And the reason for that they said to me was, we need more leadership at City Hall. And the example they gave was the rec center vote. This is the Public Facilities Task Force report from 2005 that called for both an event center and a rec center in Sioux Falls as critical facilities for our community's continued growth. 5 years after that report, we have neither. We still talk about them. What is needed is a mayor who will bring people together, that will take out a plan to the public, and will spend the time and the effort and use the bully pulpit of the mayor's office to get you a plan that will build a rec center, that will build an event center that you will support, That's what's required. That's what leadership is all about. It's going to the people and getting things done. That's what I will do if I'm your mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Vernon?
I don't golf. I don't play softball. I don't use all of our 77 parks in the community. But these kind of facilities are important to the sense of community. It gives us a sense of place. It helps attract not only people, but businesses to our community. Parks do require public support, and so do these kind of facilities that we're talking about, because in a community that has 5, sometimes 6 months of winter, we need those indoor kind of facilities to have healthy options for people to do in all weather. A quick story. I was in Rapid City last summer for South Dakota Municipal League, and the Rapid City mayor is a friend of mine, and he wanted to take me on a tour of the city. He took me to their indoor ice skating rink, and he took me to their indoor swimming pool. This was at 10 in the morning. Who do you suppose was in the pool in early June in Rapid City at 10 in the morning? That pool was full of senior citizens doing water aerobics. And he said, that's who uses this during the day. Of course, it serves other people as well, but he said this facility serves a broad spectrum of people.
Thank you. As long as we're on parks and recs here a little bit and recreation, we're going to continue with that topic. This question is talking about the Greenway project that was discussed in the Argus Leader this morning, specifically the $1 million pedestrian bridge, and what do you think of the Greenway project and this bridge? First one up, Kermit.
Yeah, first of all, let me say that any project the City of Sioux Falls does, we have to respect what the citizens want. Now, in regard to the Greenway project, this project started off to be rather modest. I think it was around $2.5 million. And then over the months, it grew and grew and grew, up to $5 million now. We're going to be spending on the east bank of the Big Sioux River between 6th and 8th Street. Now, when it comes to that bridge, there were a number of us on the City Council who were saying, we don't need a new bridge there. It's unnecessary. What we can do is modify the railroad bridge that's there right now. But unfortunately, we didn't have the votes to modify the railroad bridge, so consequently, we're going to waste a lot of money tearing down a very stable railroad bridge and building a brand-new bridge. So what we have to do with the Greenway project is to constantly be aware of the spending that we have here and to be very, very careful.
Thank you. Mike?
The heart of any city is its downtown. Sioux Falls' heart is pumping. I just want it pumping at a faster pace. This is part of the effort to make it pump at a faster pace, and I support it. There are things that we need to do to get downtown to become more vibrant, to become more of a destination. Today, the destinations of Sioux Falls are the Empire Mall and the Falls. That's great, but in my mind, the destination of Sioux Falls should be downtown. This is just one step in that effort. You have to make investments occasionally to keep your city growing. This is one that I think is appropriate. It's one that I think has been well thought of, and it's one that will just make one more step towards better things to come for our great city.
Thank you. John?
On the bridge matter, we haven't taken care of the infrastructures that we have. If anybody's noticed, if you look on the 41st Street Bridge before the patchwork was done, you can see the rebar. I'm a laborer, so I work on those particular with the Ram company. They came out of Michigan. Down far as being downtown and helping out downtown, I live downtown. I walk it, I watch it, and I constantly go through it. I have my own businesses downtown. And the only draw, like Mike said, is the falls and the mall. We need to have less parking meters downtown. Let folks come into downtown and use the facilities, and quit telling people what we can't do. We need our city is now large enough that everything needs to run 24/7.
Thank you. Thank you. Phil?
We need to fix our streets first. We've had a tough winter, and there's really no place that you can drive in Sioux Falls where you're not in danger of hitting a pothole. And until citizens are convinced that the city is taking care of the little things, the things that include good streets, safe neighborhoods, clean water, they're not going to be interested in investing their tax dollars in any of the big things. But once we get that done, the River Greenway project and the continued of the development of downtown is critically important. I've lived in Sioux Falls for 30 years. Most of that time I've worked in downtown Sioux Falls. I've watched downtown Sioux Falls die in the late 70s and early 80s. I've watched it be reborn. And now with Schoenemann's and Sioux Steel moving, with the railroad tracks and the switching station being moved, we're going to have an opportunity to create a whole new downtown for the 21st century. The River Greenway project is an integral part of that, because if you've ever seen the Riverway in San Antonio or some other communities, you see what that can do to create a great environment for the entire community to enjoy. But we got to take care of the fundamentals first and build a citizens' confidence in their city government. Thank you.
Thank you. Vernon?
We, of course, take care of the fundamentals in this community. But all of us up here love to talk about quality of life until it comes to the vote. Then suddenly it becomes controversial. I'm the only candidate here who supported in a vote to do those projects on the River Greenway. Why? Because it is economic development. It is what will drive the downtown and drive our community. And the bridge specifically, that was a promise we made as a city in exchange for Sharapa Place getting built. And look what that has done to our downtown. It's proof of the return on investment that those kind of projects do in a community. So, was it a controversial vote? Absolutely. But that's what leaders do. They lead on controversial issues, and I was the only one up here who had the courage to vote yes on that.
Thank you. Pat?
Well, like Vernon said, or implied, I did vote against that. I voted against it because the River Greenway plan that was developed in 2006 with a host of community, downtown, and business leaders did not include the River Greenway plan that we're having today. Somewhere along the line, the plan changed. I wholeheartedly supported the development of the River Greenway and the improvements to it. But when the plan changed and it added $1.5 million to put a pedestrian bridge exactly the same place where the current railroad bridge is, and added that cost to it, I had to vote no. I supported all the other projects. I support the River Greenway. But when there is increased costs and excess spending, I have to draw the line. And that's part of the fiscal responsibility that I want to bring to the City of Sioux Falls.
Thank you for all the answers that you're providing today and the conversation and discussion. Just a reminder to people, there are note cards for questions. We love questions. We want you to continue writing them. Just hold them up and wave your hands, and somebody will be over to pick them up. I know this, you cannot go to any forum, you cannot talk to any mayoral candidate without the topic of the event center coming up. So we're going to take that one on next. We've had some questions. I've kind of merged them into one set of questions, and the discussion is, now that the local sales tax option is not an option, how will this be funded? And please describe your leadership to make this a reality and what you would provide to develop an event center in Sioux Falls. Mike, you are up first.
There are times to be loved, and there are times to be a leader. Before the Event Center Task Force came out with their proposal, I went public and I said one thing that I think is important. We will never have a new arena in this town built unless the public supports it. We need to build a new arena. And we can build it without increasing a sales tax to the good people of Sioux Falls. What we need to do is come up with a reasonable plan. A reasonable plan, and the plan that young and seniors alike agree on, is let's focus on a new arena. We don't need to tear down Howard Wood Field. We don't need to build a new football field. We don't need to build a new track. We don't need to add $8 million to the old arena until the new one is built. And we don't need to expand the convention center by 75% at a time when no one in the country is expanding convention centers. And last but not least, we don't need a sales tax to pay for it.
John.
My view on this arena is no, period. It doesn't create enough jobs. It only creates monies for a handful of people. I prefer to have like a Six Flags Magic Mountain here in the city that will produce a lot more revenue, because we don't receive any revenues from the citizens, really don't, not from the arena. With Six Flags or something similar to it, we could create more jobs, more places for us as in the state of South Dakota, because the only two things they come to see here is the bullet holes at the bank where John Dillinger shot a hole at, and the falls. The western part of the state's always getting all the money. Let's turn it around so we can get the money and draw other people from Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Wyoming.
Thank you. Thank you. Bill?
I mentioned in my previous comment that people approached me about running for mayor, and it was due to their concern of a lack of leadership at City Hall. This is a good example. Again, this is the report that started the conversation on an event center and a rec center. After the rec center went down in a public vote, this report languished at City Hall. I was the chair of the Downtown Sioux Falls Development Committee, and I was asked to put together a public meeting to begin the discussion again on the event center. That public meeting, which was held in the fall of 2007, led to a small group of business leaders to get together. We put together a report that we took to City Hall, and that's how this last task force was established. It came from the citizens, not from the city. What's important to know is not that I had anything to do with it. What's important to know is that City Hall didn't. I believe we need a new event center. I think that it will add $50 million annually in new revenues to our economy, create new jobs. I believe that having it at the Howard Wood Field is an appropriate site for it. But we need to have the leadership to get it done. We need it sooner rather than later.
Thank you. Vernon?
And why do we need it done? Because it brings $52 million in annual economic impact to this community and 1,200 jobs. That's an investment that the community needs. Now, how to get it done? We thought we had a perfect plan that would not only help Sioux Falls, but also communities like Wall, Keystone, Hot Springs. 96 communities across the state agreed that this was the legislation that would do it. Unfortunately, Pierre didn't agree. We'll have new leadership in Pierre next year. That may help us. But we also have to have someone that can recruit half the funding privately. We can't put the entire burden on the taxpayers of Sioux Falls. The other piece of that legislation that is so important to understand is that we would have been able to pay for that facility in 3 years before it was even done being built and save the community $89 million in interest payments. It was a responsible way to do it, and we need to continue that plan moving forward.
Pat?
It does have a $52 million annual impact, and when you think about it, it's about a 3-year payback. And I challenge you to find a business where you can get your money back in 3 years. And when people go out there and say that we don't need an expanded convention center, or it's in the wrong spot, or it's too big, I wonder where their research is to back it up. The Event Center Task Force put 2 years into investigating and finding that out. The fact is the expanded convention center is the cheapest portion of the proposal, and it offers the highest dollar for economic return. Now, where we go from here, we need to go back, put a new plan together, look at all the financial options that are available to us. It may involve going back to peer. It certainly will involve private and corporate funding, user fees, all the rest. But we'll have to go back to the drawing board, reevaluate it, and put together a new funding mechanism. I believe most citizens support the plan. The problem is in the funding. That may involve working a deal with the legislature on removing the sales tax on bulk food. It may involve a lot of different options we simply don't know yet.
Thank you. Thank you. Kermit?
Yeah, let me begin by saying we don't even know what the citizens think about an event center. Because when we had that 18-member task force, did they even ask the question, do the citizens want it? No, they assumed they did. So that's the first thing we have to do, is to try to determine if the citizens of Sioux Falls want this facility. Now, right from the beginning, I've always held to 2 principles. First of all, we have to make sure there is no tax increase or new taxes to do this facility. And secondly, we have to make sure that there is no subsidy for this facility. Now, if those 2 conditions are met, I'm strongly in favor of an event center. But the 18-member task force did not fulfill those requirements. They talk about a $52 million economic impact. Granted, there definitely would be an economic impact, but would every citizen in Sioux Falls get part of that $52 million? I would suggest you no. There are going to be certain people that gain more from the $52 million than others. Let's face it, people who are going to come and use an event center are going to use hotels, restaurants, they'll go to the mall.
Thank you. We have gone through everybody on that question. We're going to move on to the next topic. We're going to look at a green Sioux Falls. One person writes, what can we do to reduce the use of fossil fuel vehicles in Sioux Falls to eliminate greenhouse gases? And what, if any, initiatives do you plan on implementing to make our city a greener place? Janak, you're up first on a greener Sioux Falls.
Thank you. 2006, when I ran, I was talking about taking Sioux Falls back to a green city. Your great-great-grandfathers had it right. They had it where we had cisterns, you had your own power and stuff for your water. They don't want to put windmills in here. I want to put windmills in here. The federal government at this particular time is giving tax breaks and also giving monies to the city to go green. Instead of just letting the snow just sit up and run off like we usually do, I said put the snow over here in a hole in the ground. We use that particular water with a purification system for watering or washing cars and watering grass and things of this nature. Putting in power plants inside your house. There we have little bitty power plants here, which would take off a lot of burden on the city. I've been saying going green forever, and people looked at me like I was crazy. But I'm about to put a 10,000-gallon cistern in my driveway and put me some kind of power plant in my house.
Thank you. Phil?
First of all, I think we have to recognize that for a long time to come, we're going to be a carbon-based society. And even though we will pursue a lot of different forms of alternative energy, being carbon-based is going to be the fact of our existence. But even within that, I think there are a number of things that the city can do that will help us to use fuel much more efficiently, starting with fixing the streets. If you drive your cars in these streets, you're going to get them banged up. They're going to become more fuel inefficient, and that's going to cost you both money and add to the carbon problem. Secondly, we can do a better job of timing our street signs. There's no reason why in the middle of the night when there's no traffic you need to stop at a red light. And I have plenty of examples of that. Third, I think we need to really try to, as we talked about before, reutilize our bus system and our public transportation system, maybe using smaller buses, more fuel-efficient buses, making it more convenient for people not to drive their own vehicle, but to use public transportation. And fourth, it's just a matter of public education to encourage people to use more greener methods.
Thank you. Vernon.
I'm going to go back to the bus service and talk about the improved customer service we need in that area. I took a bus to work last summer, got on it before 7 in the morning, and arrived for work a half hour late. That doesn't work for people. That doesn't work especially for people on lower incomes. But if we want to become greener, we have to improve the service that the buses offer. Second, in terms of water usage, in my time on the council, we have seen the per capita usage go down because of the efforts this council has done. The water usage in the summer, it used to be, when I first got on the council, we got complaints when we implemented the summer water usage issues for lawn watering. That has changed now. People are beginning to get it, and people are looking for ways as citizens to help in that effort. So the city needs to be in front of that and continue offering the rebates and offering means that are simple and easy for citizens to use to recycle, use less water, and use the bus service.
Thank you. Pat.
The city's been a leader in the green movement for years. When you think about it, it starts with our planning and our urban growth. We plan our growth so that we don't have urban sprawl and we have the least footprint on the environment. Look to the sanitary landfill where we put in liners at a tremendous cost just to make sure it's an environmentally friendly way. We capture methane gas and sell it to actually provides a nice little profit for the city. We do other things as well. New ideas will always be on the forefront. The city will continue to lead in the green environment. It is a responsible way to go for the future. It is fully supported. I fully support it. I intend to make it a priority in my next mayoral campaign.
Thank you. Kermit.
Well, I remember when I was going to graduate school in Los Angeles. We lived just east of downtown L.A., and the smog was incredible where we lived. So when it comes to clean air, this is something I'm particularly concerned about. Now, in terms of trying to get better air here in Sioux Falls, obviously we should try to do those things which will provide that benefit. One thing that we might think about, however, is trying to reduce the number of city regulations. Let me just give you one brief example. It's going to be very difficult for anybody that wants to put up a small wind generator on their property. Now, there are a number of companies in the world that create these rather small wind generators that produce electricity. And right now, what we have to do is to come up with deregulation to allow people to put those on their own property so they can generate their own electricity if they want to. Also, at the same time, we have to make sure that anything we do in terms of being green, we have to be cost effective.
Thank you. Mike.
My daughter Kylie and I drive my beautiful wife Cindy crazy because we are recycling nuts. But my brother doesn't recycle at all. And there's people just like you, like my brother, and there's people out there like Kylie and I. What we need to do is to help educate the people of Sioux Falls why this is a good thing. We have to incent them on why this is a good thing, and we'll educate them on why this is a good thing. I differ from Mr. Staggers on this topic. There are regulations. I'm not going to make them easier. I want to enforce the ones we have on the books today. We have garbage haulers in this city that are not following the rules as they should. And they should. Bill was exactly right when it comes to the to the traffic lights. That is the one complaint that I hear over and over
Thank
again.
you.
We can do better.
Thank you. Next topic, and we'll be starting with Bill on this one. We are going to move on to a couple questions that we've had. Sioux Falls is part of a region including multiple counties, towns, and school districts. And another one comes out about the 7 school districts that are within the City of Sioux Falls city limits. What is your approach to working with local entities? Bill, you're up first.
When I was in the state legislature, I was a very strong advocate for more cooperation or even consolidation amongst local governing units. I actually even put out a proposal to limit South Dakota to no more than 20 counties and managed to survive the experience. But if you look at the successful communities in our country today, especially Indianapolis, which I think can serve as a model for Sioux Falls, 40 years ago, they went to a metro form of government, combining their county and their city governments. Now, I'm not proposing that, but I do believe when you have a city the size of Sioux Falls, the largest city in 2 counties, where we have multi-jurisdictional problems such as homelessness, we just need to do a much better job of working with Minnehaha and Lincoln, T, Brandon, and Harrisburg to provide you, the citizens, the best possible service from your governments at the less possible cost to you, the taxpayers.
Thank you, Vernon.
I reported on Bill's experience in trying to combine counties and nearly didn't survive it.
Sorry about that.
We've joked about that for many years. I'm president of the South Dakota Municipal League in South Dakota. That is the group, the coalition of communities across the state, 300 communities. It's no small feat getting someone from Sioux Falls into that role as president of that. But it's because those communities know me and know that I come from a small community. They recognize me and what I've done as my reporting experience. They know what my values are. And so they're comfortable with me being part of that group and leading them. And I have a strong record, whether you're talking about health and human services building with Minnehaha County or our efforts to try to cooperate more on homelessness issues. I've been there and been in part of those partnerships. So I have a record of doing that and working with communities, not only nearby, but far away as well. And also took part with the Chamber in inviting legislators from across the state to this community, some who had really spent no time here, in bringing them together.
Thank you. Pat.
I think we have a long history of working together with local counties and other government and entities, and you can just look back at the Siouxland libraries, the museums, even Metro Communications, which I serve as one of the directors on that. I fully support all the opportunities that we have to work together with the different governmental entities, and we get together, most citizens probably don't realize it, but we actually get together twice a month. Once a month we get together with Minnehaha and Lincoln County Commissioners for breakfast, and we talk about issues that face all of us. We worked on a change in legislative proposal to allow us to come together and submit a bid all as one for asphalt, for example, where we could all get a better price on it. We meet together with the county commissions, city council, and the various school boards, Brandon, Harrisburg, T, all of them are invited to the table, and we just discuss various ways we can help each other. And that kind of camaraderie, working together atmosphere is exactly what our community is about.
Thank you. Kermit.
Yes, as mentioned, we have a joint library system with the county. We have a landfill, a regional landfill. We have a joint county, city museum system. And also, we're investigating the possibility of having a regional sewer system. And that probably will not come about for a number of years if it does. So it is good to try to take advantage of cooperation with local governments, because hopefully we can save some money that way by operating economy by scale. But however, at the same time, as a city government, we also have to be very cautious, too, in our approach. The reason I say that is because a number of years ago, we had a joint project with the county to build a health and welfare building. And in this health and welfare building, it was a county building. It's a county building. However, what happened is the city ended up paying 70% of the costs for a county building, whereas the county only paid 30%. So while cooperation is very good, sometimes the city should be a little more cautious and prudent in how it goes about it.
Thank you. Mike.
Groups are always more powerful than individuals. Same thing applies with all of the good groups that Carol just talked about. They're all very passionate about what they do. They're all very committed about what they want to do, about what they want to accomplish. But they'll even be more powerful when they communicate and work together at an even higher level. I have a 25-year business background. I help make things more productive, more efficient, more accountable, and we get things done in the spirit of when you break down silos and you have groups work together, you get even more done, even more accomplished, and that's what I'm looking forward in terms of doing if I have the honor to become your next mayor. I want to touch very, very briefly on schools. My wife and I were the co-chairs of the 2 campaigns to raise more funds for public schools here in Sioux Falls. We're the presidents of the Booster Club, involved in President's Bowl as on the Governor's Task Force on Education funding. You do not have to worry. If I become your mayor, we will work with schools in Sioux Falls at a rate you've never seen before.
Thank you. Janak.
I can't add any accomplishment with the rest of the panelists that's sitting up here because I know just one thing. Education means more to us right now than anything else. Well, we're numbers anywhere from 8 to 12 in the world as far as education. I'm tired of folks sitting here talking about how much it's going to cost for this or that and that. For our education, this is our future. If America wants to stay America, we got to invest in our children, not just for higher learning, but like we used to. When a young man or a young lady gets out of school, what happened to the different shops that we had that would provide for painters, plumbers, architects, and things of this nature that they didn't have to go to college for? Everybody thinks everybody's going to keep on going and want to go to college. Everybody's not going to make it to college. But everybody needs a basic education to have skills enough to take care of our families. This part of the country is right for it.
Thank you. First up on the next question will be Vernon, and this one is about homeless citizens. What do you plan to do for homeless adults and homeless children? Vernon, you're up first.
I've worked very hard on this issue. I'm a part of the Homeless Advisory Board. I was part of the group that forwarded the plan that we take care first of those that are most chronically homeless in our community. Why there first? Because they are the most expensive. And if we don't care for them, we tie up resources that could be used for families and others. I'm very proud of Minnehaha County for stepping forward and going it alone when the city should have been there to help in that process. As mayor, I will find ways that we will cooperate to make sure that that can happen. We will be judged as a community by how we take care of those least able to take care of themselves. And that starts in that manner of starting with the most chronic homeless. It's worked in communities across the country, and it's worked well. We know that it saves money, it treats people with dignity, and it makes the community better for all of us.
Pat.
I want to be a part of that solution. When it came to the last proposal for the Housing First, there was no open checkbook from the City of Sioux Falls. The solution had to make sense. And I know the mayor and many of the city council members never really understood the cost. We couldn't figure out how what the impact was going to be on our city budget. And we knew that we were headed into a time where our fiscal issues were going to be mounting. And that continues today. There was never an agreement that we were going to accept the first proposal, a costly proposal. I want to be a part of that solution. I will work to that end, but it needs to make sense for the City of Sioux Falls, and we can come up with a viable solution. And I think the one that's on the way makes a lot of sense.
Thank you. Kermit.
Yes, I think the most important thing that we should be doing in the City of Sioux Falls is supporting those private agencies that already are involved in helping the homeless and the low-income people. And specifically, let me mention the St. Francis House deserves a lot of credit. The Union Gospel Mission, the Good Shepherd Ministry, the Salvation Army, and also I could continue with many other important private organizations that are out there really doing the work. They're not just talking about it, they're actually doing it. So we have to give them even more and more support. Now, in terms of the Housing First project, You know, it was mentioned about the very high cost for this project, and it was very high. A majority of the city council members were concerned about the cost, along with the mayor. But also there was something else that was defective in that project, and that is the philosophy. Basically, the philosophy was get the hardcore off the streets and put them there and keep them there, instead of trying to make them become independent people. So we also cannot just look at money, but we also have to talk about philosophy.
Thank you, Kermit. Mike?
The face of homelessness has changed. It's no longer the drunk behind the bar by the trash can. It's not. We have 750 to 1,000 kids that are homeless in our community at any time. 40% of the good kids in our public school system are on free or reduced lunches. The face has changed, folks. One of the most popular places to sleep for a homeless person, especially a mom who's trying to get away from an abusive situation with her kids. The most popular place to sleep in Sioux Falls for that mom and those kids is Walmart. It's lighted. It's safe. We are a faith-based community.
Thank you.
We can do better.
Thank you. John?
I'm just thinking back. You're looking at one of them persons that was homeless. I don't know the solutions that they have. I've been there. I've lived it. It wasn't because of something that I wanted to happen. It was because of jobs. Things happen in my family. I know how to resolve this by giving the persons the opportunity to learn a true job and just give them their worth back. Everybody just asks for a homeless person to be, you want to fit in somewhere, and you have to find your niche. Most homeless persons travel all over the United States as a migrant worker. I'm a hobo. I'm 100 King of the National Hobos. It took me 17 years to get that title. But we travel all around, and you're looking for a place that you fit in, and you find a place that people can love you, and you can love the community and give back. That's all they ever ask for.
Thank you. Bill?
Thanks, Carol. You know, every campaign, every election is really an educational opportunity, especially for the candidates. I've always been aware, frankly, that we've had a problem with homelessness in Sioux Falls. I've been aware that we've had a problem with low income and poverty. But I didn't realize until I became a candidate for mayor the depth of the problem or the complexity of the problem. I don't have any magic solutions. I really don't. But I do know that the mayor has to be intimately involved in finding those solutions. There are a lot of good organizations out there that are working diligently every day with limited means to try and help find places for people to go to be safe, to be warm, to be cared for. And we have a lot of opportunities here. I think that the one thing that we really need to do is do a much better job of integrating those non-governmental organizations with the faith-based community and with city and county governments to try and hit the various aspects of the issues that we're facing with homelessness. Some of it's behavior-driven, some of it's economic-driven.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to go on to our next question, and this person writes in and says, what coalition-building strategies will you bring to the mayor's office? Please tell us about your coalition-building strategies that you will bring to the mayor's office. First up on this is Pat.
Well, I think the best thing that any of us could do as the next mayor is listen. Listen to all the different interested parties, whether it's a county or a school board or a business organization or a faith-based organization. But we have to be accessible, and we have to be willing to listen. We have to understand that the best ideas can come from anybody in our community or outside of our community, for that matter. So that's probably the best way to build coalitions, to make yourself available and willing to listen and investigate and work hard. And I think I've demonstrated that in my time on the City Council, a willingness to look into the issues and research them and truly understand them and to listen to a variety of opinions.
Kermit.
Yes, when you talk about building coalitions, there seems to be the assumption that we're talking about different groups, and so we're going to talk to this group or whatever. And while that does happen, the most important thing to do, though, however, is to try to find out what the citizens as a whole want. And to do that, you actually have to go talk to the citizens. And that's what I've been doing the last several years, going around talking to citizens, actually asking them, what kind of concerns do you have about the city? Likewise, as a mayor, what I would do is I would not just sit in the city mayor's office and wait for people to come to me. No, I would go out to them. And that's the way it should be, going out and talking to the people and finding out what they want. Now, besides actually doing that, it also sends a very good message to all the citizens that, hey, the mayor is not just somebody sitting in an ivory tower. No, the mayor is actually out there wanting to find out what they want. The mayor is the servant of the people. And that's the way it should be in our politics in our country. Elected officials should be the servants of the people.
Thank you, Mike.
I'm not going to wait until I become the mayor to reach out to people. I've been doing it my whole life. Not only do you go out and talk to people, you have to listen, yes, but you have to learn what they're saying. People want a voice in this community. They do. Women want a voice. Working poor want a voice. People of different colors want a voice. Seniors want a voice. Those are coalitions that deserve to be heard. Those are coalitions that want to play an active role in city government. Those are people that, when given the opportunity, will strengthen city government at a rate you cannot believe. Because it will offer other ideas. It will offer other strategies to getting things done. I'm very, very excited about that. I am. I'm not waiting. I've been doing it. I've listened. I've learned. We're going to have some
Thank
fun.
you. John.
I learned from people around here that told me, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Well, we the government, who are the people, are not stuck on stupid any longer. Entities are the people. We make the town. We do anything we want to. It's for those to give back, who've made money in this town, who have their businesses here in this town, when it's stressed out. People keep talking about the Christian way. I have a question. It was one day I was asked to come down to the county park down here to pass out food by one of the pastors at Faith Temple. He said he asked all the candidates. The only person I saw down there was myself. If persons can't take care of the simple thing, what makes you think they're going to take care of anything else?
Bill.
I think bringing people together and finding solutions to common problems is one of the strengths that I will bring to the office of mayor, and I have a proven record in doing it. I'll give you two examples. In 1994, Sioux Falls had a city commission form of government, and there was broad citizen dissatisfaction with it. I was one of the people who brought together Republicans and Democrats, business and labor, education, the League of Women Voters, older people and younger people, to write the city charter and to take it to the vote of the people after a broad public input to change our form of city government. When I was the Republican majority leader in Pierre, I worked with my counterpart, Mel Olson, the Democratic leader from Mitchell, to create the South Dakota Opportunity Scholarship to help our young people get a better education and to stay in Sioux Falls. This election to me is about one thing and one thing only. It's leadership. Leadership is about bringing people together and getting things done, and I have done it. It's on the record. You can see for yourself.
Thank you, Vernon.
My leadership is always the same: listen, learn, and lead. And I'll give you the examples that I've had on the City Council in doing that. Some of them I've mentioned already. South Dakota Municipal League, bringing 96 communities together to support the local tax option that would have benefited all communities economically. The partnerships that I've helped with the county, whether it be that Health and Human Services building or the libraries or the homeless coalition's issues. And finally, an example that I'm proud of, too, is the zoo. When I was brand new on the City Council, that zoo was falling apart. The zoo board walked away, saying, we're done. And by all counts, we were not coming back together, but I refused to believe that we couldn't come back together to the table and asked the zoo board to come back to the table. And as a result, we save $500,000 a year because the city didn't have to take over those employees. That's fiscal responsibility. I have a record of finding what we have in common, what issues we have in common, and then leading forward with that.
Thank you. Thank you. Next question that we have as we come down to our last couple before we have our closing comments. We had a couple questions about recognizing that the mayor is a leader of a very large workforce in not only the city of Sioux Falls, but also the state of South Dakota. One person writes and says, have you met with the 12 department heads of city government? Another person says, will you bring a common managerial process to your directors? How will decisions be made for accountability within their departments? And first up on this is Kermit. City departments and city directors.
Yeah, first of all, having been on the Sioux Falls City Council for 8 years, obviously I've met with all the department heads from time to time. But let me say something now about my view of the employees of the City of Sioux Falls. First of all, we have a lot of good employees here working for the City of Sioux Falls. And having said that, we also pay them very well, too. And in paying them very well, I have high expectations that they can make decisions on their own. And what I mean by that, it seems like over the 8 years I've been on the council, the city government has become somewhat bureaucratic, where people just resort to this regulation or this standard operating procedure or this or that. And so one of the things I would hope is that we want to have our city employees actually making decisions on their own without having to resort to this kind of rigid thinking. Because in city government, what we have to have is more flexibility.
Thank you. Mike.
The mayor is the chief executive officer of the city. Because of that, I am the most qualified person to fill that role. Our city's budget is $337 million. I have managed budgets over $100 million on my very own. I have motivated thousands of employees over my 25 years in business, and I am pumped to motivate the 1,100 that we have in city government today. The department heads, they will work with me in the spirit of making great things happen for this city. But they will be held accountable at a level that you haven't seen in a long time. They're going to have to use common sense solutions. They're going to have to bring some compromise, and ultimately they're going to have to make progress. I'm excited about this role. We've talked about legislative experience. This is the executive branch. Thank you.
Thank you. Janai.
I've been here 14 years, and I have yet to see this downtown government or the city government really look at what the people want or what are the problems or challenges that the people have, from human resources, police department, fire department, and all. I have records from numbers of persons of all ethnicities in this city. When challenges came, it was always overlooked and saying, well, we'll get back, we'll get back, we'll get back. I have never seen it happen. I've had some incidents here lately that should have been resolved with you're wrong, and they said it was right. Well, that's what's wrong with our city government. They're not listening to the people. We are the government. They're no longer listening. We have to put somebody in there that's never been in there before, don't owe nobody anything, but to the people and to this city. And I love this city, and that's why I'm stepping up.
Thank you. Bill.
My governing philosophy is very simple. It's to give the citizens of Sioux Falls the best possible service from your city government at the least possible cost to you, the taxpayers of Sioux Falls. My management philosophy is very simple as well. It's a cabinet form of government. I intend to bring the cabinet departments heads in for frequent meetings, because most of the issues that we face as a community cross jurisdictional lines. For example, we have bad streets. That affects the ability of the police and fire departments to get to your homes in case of an emergency. It affects your ability to get to parks or swimming pools, and that's just one example. We need to break down those department head jurisdictions to really focus in on a common solution to the problems that we have. And I will have a chief of staff, but it will be a chief of staff who will have very broad experience in law or business or management to help me run an enterprise that is $337 million, that has 1,120 employees. One person cannot do it alone. We need to have a very distinct management philosophy to run the city, to make sure our goals are being met. I do have that.
Thank you. Vernon.
I believe the question was, do you talk to the 12 department heads? I do regularly as a city council member, frequently through email, in person, or on the phone. I have a strong record of bringing people together. I've shared some of those things today. My style is to provide direction and let employees then present solutions, creative solutions. My boss at SDN Communication teases me that my staff doesn't need me because they don't need a manager, they perform so well. I'm very proud of that because that shows that I've led teams that they have the freedom to provide creative solutions and they don't need a lot of direction once they get going because I've set the stage for them already. And that's the sort of leadership I would provide as mayor as well. Give them direction, allow them to present creative solutions, and then carry them out.
Thank you. Pat.
As chair of the city council, I meet with the mayor and the directors 3 times, sometimes 4 times a month. So I've had an opportunity to get to know them a little bit more personally, and I can tell you that I believe the city of Sioux Falls is generally very well served by the directors and many of the city employees. As far as my leadership style, owning my own business and running it for 20 years, and even as my background as a CPA, I've learned that I will only be as successful as the people below me are. And I would foster an environment of creativity. I would encourage participation and new thinking and outside ideas. Again, as a community, as a mayor, I will only be as successful as those people below me. And we have to build those people up. We have to give, in the restaurant industry, we talk about setting managers up for success, making sure they have all the tools necessary to be successful. And that's what I want to do. I want to make sure the city is set up for success.
Thank you. We're going to take another question yet before we go into looking at some closing comments. This is a theme that's come up in several questions that's out there, and I did want to summarize some of them together into a fair, hopefully a succinct question. And this is talking about what are the priorities that you will have. The focus that's out there. And as one person writes, we've heard your responses on a number of different issues this morning, from public transportation, the rec center, event center, green projects, etc. And you all acknowledge the importance of these issues, but there will be limitations that our next mayor will face. And you will ultimately have to decide where the priorities will lie. What will be your top priorities for the city of Sioux Falls if you were elected as our next mayor? And up first on this one is Mike.
I have been talking with thousands of people over the last 10 months. There are 2 things that come up over and over again. So not only are these my priorities, but these are the people's priorities. Number 1 is very clear. The people in Sioux Falls want fiscal responsibility in city government. In their minds, especially at times like today, where we have economic stress, if families can tighten their belts, if businesses can tighten their belts, they want to know, why can't city government? I will lead that. Number 2, the thing that comes up a lot is, why doesn't the city take care of some of the basic things that a city is supposed to do, such as the infrastructure needs? And the one that comes up all the time is roads. Lawila Hunking was the pothole princess. I will be the road warrior. I'm excited about it. We need to get back to some of the basics because the citizens demand it.
Thank you. John.
My priority are the people, especially the young people, because I owe it to them. I learned spiritually a long time ago, a man that doesn't have anything to give to his future is less than an infidel. Second the streets. Beside the streets, the persons that clean the streets, because they're supposed to be professional persons that handle them blades and stuff. I'm wondering in my mind, who's going to get paid if you're going to ride? And I've watched the guys downtown clean up around the area ride on the blades themselves to destroy our streets. Why can't we use better materials so we don't have to go through it again and again? Thirdly, I want jobs. We got to have some new jobs and new people here, because only a handful of folks are running this city, and they're afraid of competition from outside sources that can give us more jobs and things. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
I have 3 priorities. First, the next mayor has to be actively involved in creating 21st century jobs for our city. Our economic base is going to change. The communities which are surviving and even prospering during this recession are cities that have based their new jobs on intellectual capital. Those are cities like Indianapolis, they're cities like Pittsburgh. They're harnessing the power of education to their job growth. That's job 1 for me. 2, we're not going to create any new jobs, get anybody to move here, any business to come here, unless we take care of the fundamentals. That means good streets, safe neighborhoods, clean waters, parks, libraries, and so forth. And 3rd, I really want to take a look at the internal workings of City Hall and create a 21st century government for our citizens. And I'm going to have a management council that's going to help me with that. And it won't be just looking internally at how we organize City Hall, but how we can cooperate with Lincoln County, with Minnehaha County, with T, Harrisburg, all the communities around us to give you the best value as taxpayers and the best services as citizens.
Thank you. Vernon?
My 3 are jobs, streets, and quality of life. Let me go back and explain each. With jobs, my role at SDN Communications, I get to sit across from the table from big companies that have considered Sioux Falls or who have come to Sioux Falls. I know what it's like to be across the table, and I don't think anyone else up here has had that experience. Plus, my communication skills as a reporter also help then in selling this community. The streets, we'll be spending $33 million in streets this year, a record number. I think we're going to need more. And finally, the quality of life projects. The very thing that attracts people to this community also attracts businesses. It's no secret that when the Development Foundation brings a prospective business to this community, what do? They show them the schools, they show them the parks, they show them the Washington Pavilion, they show them the quality of life projects in this community. It takes investment in that to continue to attract businesses that will bring jobs and increase the quality of living and quality of income for all of us in Sioux Falls.
Thank you. Pat?
Our future is dependent on decisions we make very soon, and we have some tough decisions. We need to focus on fiscal responsibility. I think I've demonstrated that in 2 ways. I proposed an amendment to the budget to put $4 million into roads a couple of years ago when we had some opportunity there, and I also tried to adjust our 2010 budget to bring it into a more realistic revenue forecast. But beyond short-term fiscal issues, we have to retool our economy. The economy that has gotten us to where we are today will not be the economy that gets us to where we want to be 30 years from now. We need to have a new environment for creating jobs. And I ask you to look around at the people before you. Who here has set up a corporation? Who here has taken a loan at a bank? Who here has hired people, trained them, motivated them, negotiated contracts? I have created hundreds of jobs, literally, not with somebody else's money, with my own money.
Thank you. Kermit?
Yes, when it comes to the City of Sioux Falls, my vision is limited government, unlimited opportunity for individuals. And that's the way that we should be operating here in Sioux Falls. Now, in terms of limited government, what we want to do, of course, is to focus on the infrastructure. We have to have the most excellent police force, the most excellent fire department, and, of course, the most excellent streets, water, and sewer systems. Second to none. After that, the important thing is to focus on the needs of the citizenry. And one important need for the citizenry right now is reducing the tax burden. This last year, my colleagues on the City Council, not myself, but my colleagues, voted for increases in water, sewer rates, frontage assessments, and also, believe it or not, in the midst of this economic downturn, they also voted a property tax increase for you this year. I tried to stop the property tax increase, but was not successful. In fact, during the past several years, I've always had amendments to reduce the property tax, but no support
you.
from my colleagues.
Thank you. As we move into the home stretch of today's forum, I'm going to share with you just briefly some of the topics of the questions that we've had. As we look at doing closing comments, Janak, you'll be up first on closing comments. So we'll start those in just a few minutes. But before that, I do want to read through what some of the questions are. If you want to take a minute and just look over your notes real quickly, I'll share what the amendments are, because we do want to remind people that those are going to be on the election ballot also. Some of the questions that we had questions that came up wanting to know about what you would do as mayor to attract well-paying jobs into Sioux Falls, your plans for development. One person writes their concern about the growth on the east side of Sioux Falls. What do you propose to prevent the translocation of businesses and homes from the interior of the city and ensure the viability of the downtown center of the city? We had some questions about taxes. How do you balance being fiscally conservative and a progressive community at the same time? How do we, as a city, respond to tough economic times? Questions about sidewalks and accessibility, roads and sidewalks that are out there. We've had some questions about the bus stop areas being accessible and SAM being fully ADA compliant. One person wants to know about what you've done for volunteer efforts, what you've been involved with in leadership that you've put in place. If elected, will you have a chief of staff position? Question about how do we improve airline options in the city of Sioux Falls. One person writes they're concerned about justifying spending $5 million on a pedestrian bridge and amphitheater when employees won't receive a cost of living increase for 3 years. There's questions about the role of the mayor, especially as the mayor relates in the city council, the relationship that goes along in there. We've had questions about the rights of the individuals, charter revision, do you support those? Cleanup and maintenance. One person is wanting to know, with Iowa just across the border building a casino, how will you draw those visitors to Sioux Falls and the impact of that? Does the city budget support mental health programs? And how would you continue to, what would you do for listening sessions for city employees with openness and accessibility? So if you want to take a few seconds and just pull your thoughts together in those opening comments, if there's anything you want to edit. We appreciate the candidates coming forward today, and I do want to share with you that there are 3 amendments that will be on the ballot that you will have. And Amendment A is a change that clarifies that the mayor will determine the appropriate format of the annual budget submission to the City Council. Amendment B is on the Districting Commission and allows for representation from each of the 5 City Council districts. The amendment also clarifies how a vacancy on the Districting Commission would be handled, and Amendment C reduces the number of signatures that a person running for City Council, not for mayor, but for City Council, is required to obtain. Sample ballots are available on the website at siouxfalls.org, and where you can review further about the amendment changes on that. So we're going to go ahead and flip into closing comments. You have 1 minute each, and we'll go ahead and start.
Thank you. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching on television or on computer, and persons that are here. I'm new. Like I said, I have no ties. The only ties I have to everybody in this town, because it's a Christian-based place, is for me to love you and respect you as a Christian. I don't have all the answers, but my Father has everything. And this is a Christian-based part of the country, Bible Belt all the way. The last 8 years, as I'm hearing, are some of these same gentlemen that are sitting up here with me. It's time for something new, because all the solutions, they may have some, but they don't have the basics, which is dealing with the people themselves. They're only working with basically with a handful of folks to make a handful of folks some money and help. I want to help the people of this city to make it right. It's time for us to pull in our belt, tighten it up, and do it God's way.
Thank you. Thank you. Bill.
I was in Pierre a few weeks ago and listened to several of the candidates for governor speak. And Scott Heideperm said something that I think we should consider for each election and each candidate in each race that we vote in this year. I thought it was very profound. I'm going to paraphrase it, but what he basically said was this: it's very easy to be a popular public official in good times. It's a lot tougher to be a good public official in challenging times. We live in challenging times. I've had a record that you can check out. I was, and I know I was, a good representative for District 14 in Sioux Falls. I was a good majority leader for South Dakota. I will be a good mayor for you because I get things done. Thank you.
Thank you, Vernon.
I think yesterday on the campaign trail I was paid the best compliment ever in the campaign. A businessman told me, he said, "Vernon, I'm supporting you because you are fair-minded for all in Sioux Falls." That's quite a compliment to me, and I appreciated that because my family is not much different than any other family in Sioux Falls. My wife and I both work. We have a mortgage. We have a daughter we're saving for college. We're trying to save for our retirement, and that's difficult for many families in this time. I think my experience in business, communications, and government provides the unique experience that would make a good mayor of Sioux Falls. We live in a great community, safe community. More than 90% of the people in this town say that they're getting at least a fair value for their tax dollar. I look forward to improving this community even more so it attracts good jobs, good paying jobs, and more good people to this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat.
There are several things why I think I will make the best mayor for Sioux Falls. At first, it starts going back what I said at the beginning. I'm a fourth-generation Sioux Falls resident. My wife is a lifelong resident of Sioux Falls. We understand, and I understand, where we have come from as a community, and I think I've got a good pulse on where we want to go. We have the opportunity to grow our community to 250,000 people by 2025. But the decisions we make now will be critical on how we achieve that growth. I think you can look back to my background as a CPA, as a small business owner, and on the city council. All of those give me the best experience, the best mix of experiences to lead the city to the future. I have a vision of where we want to go and how we can all prosper along the way.
Thank you. Kermit.
Yes. Words, words, words. That's what we've heard today. And words are very important for communicating. But there's also another important element you have to consider when looking at the different mayoral candidates, and that's the record. The record is what we've actually done. When it comes to my record, one of the most important aspects of it is I've been out there with the people, trying to find out what kind of concerns the people have. But secondly, my experience in government. I have more experience in government than all the other candidates here today combined. Now, that experience in government, while important, we also have issues to deal with. I'm the only candidate here that's been fighting not to have a property tax increase for the past several years. So when you take a look at the different mayoral candidates, remember the words, but even more importantly, take a look at the record, especially the voting record. That does not lie. If you'd like to know some more about where I stand on the issues, please be sure you go to staggersformayor.com.
Thank you. Mayor, Mike.
These are good men. Very good men. We're just different. With me, what you see is what you're going to get as your mayor. I'm passionate. I'm motivated. I'm committed to this city like you cannot believe. And I've got 25 years of business experience, and I'm going to bring it to city government. I've had good people say, "Mike, you don't understand. You can't do that." Watch me. I will do it. I'm going to make you good folks one promise, and it's the only promise I'm going to make throughout the entire campaign, and it'll be the same promise that I have if I have the honor to become your mayor. We are not always going to agree. We're going to disagree at times, but we will use common sense solutions. We will bring compromise into the process, and we will get things done for the city.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you to our audience for joining us today, and for our organizers and our volunteers through the League of Women Voters, the Sioux Falls Area Chamber of Commerce, and the City of Sioux Falls. Next Saturday morning, there will be 2 sets of forums, and that will be for the city council positions, because I believe there are 4 positions that are open, and that will be done in 2 separate forums next Saturday morning. As a reminder, this is going to be replayed on Channel 16 between now and April 13th. The dates on that are Mondays, March 29th, April 5th, and April 12th, starting at 9 a.m. Fridays, April 2nd and April 9th, starting at 9 a.m., and Sundays, April 4th and 11th, starting at 9 a.m. Also, I guess the times are the same, so we don't have to worry so much about that as the dates. We do remind people, too, that there is one other thing that's going to be on the ballot on April 13th, and that is going to be a school board election. And there will be a forum and more information about that coming out as we get closer to April 13th. The election is April 13th, and absentee voting has already begun at the Minnehaha County Auditor's Office. Please remember to encourage others to vote and give them a ride to the ballot if you need to have that happen, or help them coordinate absentee voting, because those things are all important for us to engage in. So thank you very much for your time today. We wish all of our candidates the best. We know that they have a very busy, you down to 3 weeks now? 3 weeks, 25 days coming on, and I don't think any of them are going to be getting a lot of sleep and eating many meals at home in the next few days. Thank you very much. Enjoy the beautiful day.